Hello everyone, my name is Paul, and today I will be going over Battlefield 1's multiplayer. When I heard that EA and DICE were finally creating a World War I video game, I was extremely excited. Mostly because I've always enjoyed Battlefield, and everyone seems to think right now that they need to make futuristic games. And I understand that it's nice because obviously if you have a video game set 1,000 years in the future or 100 years in the future or what have you, you can just make up your own rules. Like you can innovate with the weapons, with the play style, with the dynamic of the game. But the problem is a lot of people are just really sick and tired of that. I mean, you would think, oh, being futuristic, they're going to come up with some really creative weapons, some really creative gadgets, but in reality, it ends up just being the same sort of guns you'd expect from maybe an older game, but maybe now they shoot lasers. I mean, for the most part, I really think that a lot of these newer games coming out are just missing the entire point of having a futuristic setting. So, when I did hear that there would finally be a World War I game coming out that's actually, decent, I was very excited. And I'm not huge in Battlefield. I'm not going to lie. I don't play it a whole lot because I enjoy very close encounters. I enjoy close combat, and Battlefield obviously isn't very good of a game for that. I mean, there are certain maps, but for the most part, people play it for those 64-man conquest games, and I don't very much like that because I feel like too often I'll get frustrated because I'll always feel like I'm the one that's just trying to run 20 minutes to an objective just to get shot by a sniper that's a million meters away. I mean, I don't want to sound like a big complainer because obviously the game is extremely popular, and I'm pretty sure it's doing quite a bit better right now than the newest Call of Duty. But at the same time, this is just my opinions. I don't like it. I don't like the big maps, but they always seem to come up with at least one or two smaller rush maps or team deathmatch oriented maps that I really, really enjoy. And usually that's actually enough for me to purchase a game, is just to play those couple of small maps because, I'm big onto really fast-paced gameplay. I'm big on the whole weapon system. I usually enjoy the feel of the guns in Battlefield, and there's usually so much customization compared to Call of Duty. Obviously, the two are compared quite often, but this year there's really no comparison. And Battlefield 1 is really no different when it comes to those couple small niche maps that really do it for me. They really make the game worth buying. Even if I'm not going to play those big 64-man conquests all the time, I still have something for me. When it comes to single player, the reason I'm not actually going over that is because I didn't enjoy it very much. It was mostly just run forward, kill everything. I mean, there were some parts that were supposed to be stealthy, I guess, but, they give you a gun, so you just kill everything. There are certain sections of the game where it's near impossible to actually die or lose, and no matter what settings you set it at, it doesn't change that. It feels really weird. It doesn't feel like a World War I oriented single player, and that has to be the weirdest thing because it is a World War I oriented single player. That's the entire point of the game. But I feel like they kind of missed the whole point of World War I. It wasn't as dark. It wasn't as grimy. It wasn't as terrifying as World War I was. And I'm sure, obviously, it's not a war simulator, but I think they could have put more effort into it. It felt like the generic single-player campaign of like a Call of Duty game. For example, once again, comparing the two, it felt like it was just kind of put in there. And I mean, I can't totally blame them, though. People aren't going to come back every week after week, month after month, year after year for the single player. I mean, most people, even if they had a really good single player, most people play it once and just go on to multiplayer and forget all about it and never speak of it again. So I can't really blame them for allocating their resources in other places. When it comes to Battlefield 1, there's actually quite a bit about the game I don't enjoy. And I don't want to sound like I don't like the game, because I thoroughly enjoy the game. I've played like 20, 30 hours so far, and I've been juggling full-time jobs, so that is actually really impressive for me. I have had an extremely good time with the game. I like it, but there are several factors that seem to pop up their head every single game that just bother me so much. And one of them has to be the gas grenades right now. Now, I'm sure, without a doubt in my mind, that this will eventually be changed. But at the moment, here's the problem. Both teams benefit from using gas grenades, and everyone can spawn in with 2 of them to start. They last a long time, they cover a large area, and they will damage, if not kill, people who stand in them for too long. And when you're in gas grenades, and when you're fighting an entire building that's completely filled with gas grenades, it's kind of dull after a while. I mean, several of the classes just do not mesh well with hip firing. So you can cut out basically sniper, and you can cut out the medic class, and then you're just left with mostly shotguns and light machine guns. And maybe if you're into that, sure, but it's kind of frustrating for everyone else, you know? I mean, I like to play a medic, and it's very difficult sometimes, having to hip fire through half the map because everything is gassed. And the reason everything is gassed is because gas grenades work well for both teams. The attackers throw gas grenades because they want to clear out the defenders, and, you know, they want to make sure the defenders have to hit fire or take damage, and they think it'll be an advantage for them. And the defenders throw gas grenades because they want to slow down the attackers. So you end up with half of each team spawning in with gas grenades. And instead of inhibiting one team more than the other, it's usually just a huge nuisance for everyone. But you feel like you have to use them. Like, you get 2 of them, they do damage, they bother your enemy so much. Having to put on the mask, it takes a moment to put it on and take it off, put it on and take it off as you run through different areas that may or may not be filled with gas. So you end up with gameplay that just feels really awkward at times. And I think this could honestly all be solved if they limited the gas grenades to maybe 1 a person and made it take a very long time to refill them off of packs. Because I understand gassing a room to clear an objective. What I don't like is when literally the entire map is completely gassed and everyone's using shotguns. And I love shotguns, I do. But I don't always want to use them. And like I said, I'm a very close quarters sort of player. I play on small maps. So I experience the gas grenade problem more so than probably anyone. And 64-man multiplayer, maybe it's a lot different. I don't know. I don't play 64-man multiplayer a whole lot. I have in the past. It's been a decent time, but I much prefer close quarters combat, to be totally honest with you. And this is really, really annoying. Another thing that I don't really like that much about Battlefield 1 are the machine guns for the assault class. These guns feel like they do very, very minimal damage. They have insane recoil. Good luck hitting anything past medium range. And it just feels like you should just be using a shotgun. Like, it feels like a submachine gun in this game is just significantly less effective in almost every aspect than just using a shotgun. Shotguns get a decent range, you know. The only point where the assault or the machine guns would actually go over the shotguns is when you are fighting at about mid-range and just out of a shotgun's reach. That's like the perfect range. You have to be at that perfect range for your machine gun to actually be good. And even then, it's still pretty bad because you're just going to get outshot by a light machine gun, and you're going to get outshot by anything the medic uses. And, you know, sometimes even pistols. I mean, the machine guns just do very little damage. They seem to have very little effect. And so I'm not really compelled to use them. And I know I'm not the only one with this problem, because as I play the game more, as I pay attention to my teammates and my enemies and what everyone's using, I see very few other people actually using these guns as well. Most people just opt for the shotgun because it's just strictly better in so many ways, in my opinion. I mean, once again, like I said, with the gas grenades going hand in hand, it becomes more difficult to use a machine gun anyways, so you end up just defaulting to a shotgun every single time. Something I really do enjoy about this game, though, is the bayonet charging. I mean, I played other games and held in F thinking I was going to bayonet stab someone, and obviously it didn't work out very well. And I've had some very glitchy moments with the bayonet, but I really like it. And I really like all the melee animations, to be honest. I just really think they got it right on the head this time. I mean, everyone's critiqued every single time, as well as myself, all over the last couple Battlefield games, because the melee just felt kind of wonky, or you get killed halfway and the guy you were stabbing gets back up, or maybe, you know, you're trying to stab someone from the front and they counter knife you, and it's just this really annoying process, especially when there's like the tiniest bit of latency in the game, so you stab someone from what it looks like behind, but somehow they still turn around in an instant and counter knife you. In this game, stabbing does a significant amount of damage depending on which melee weapon you chose, which once again is pretty neat, the variety of weapons. and if you stab them from behind, it's an animation that kills them, and if they happen to turn around in time and you stab them and they can't just counter knife you, the weapons actually seem effective, which I really enjoy. Something I did find kind of awkward though is, why can't I just bayonet them at close range? Like, why do I have to pull out my knife to stab them? Why can't I just stab them with the bayonet of my gun? I mean, I realize there might be some balance issues because you're holding your gun at all times. It's like carrying a knife around with you at all times. But I mean, they could have added maybe a slower animation when you're stabbing, but that's not a huge issue. The fact that people make it so hard for me as a medic to revive them sometimes really gets on my nerves. Like, how many times do I have to walk over your body, pull out my syringe, just to see that skull disappear because you were holding it in space and not paying attention to the medic that was literally 2 meters away? I feel like I can't totally blame people, though, because they're so used to crappy medics. I mean, you play a game 100 times, and you have a medic that's 2 feet away and just walks over your corpse, which actually happened to me last night. He just casually stepped on my face and walked away. I guess maybe get tuned to just hitting space. You're like, oh, there's a medic 10 meters away, but it doesn't matter. He's probably incompetent. But when I'm playing medic and I'm rushing through battle trying to revive someone behind a wall, and they right on time, they're holding in that space bar, and I just miss them. It's the most frustrating thing in the world because it happens pretty often, and I think you'll see in this gameplay I'm posting that it is in fact very common. It happens like 4 or 5 times this match. I'm just trying to revive people and they're just holding in space and not paying attention to the medic that's literally standing right over them. Like, Jesus, these people are so eager to give up their life. Like, come on. Some of the maps in this game, like I said, I am, once again, close quarters. I don't play a whole lot of the huge maps, but something I've noticed is, more so than any of the other Battlefield games, some of the maps in this game just feel like there's absolutely no cover. Like, you ever notice that? I mean, I know they used a lot of trench warfare and whatnot, but even maps without trenches, you end up with entire maps that just feel like a completely empty grass field with nothing on them, where one team is just trying to run through that grass field, trying to get to an objective to get some cover, while the other team just has mounted machine guns and you're mowing them down like the animals they are. And it's just really frustrating because it feels like it's become a lot more casual. Like, it feels like they want everyone to sort of have a turn to be the one with the mounted machine gun mowing down the attackers who are trying to run through that open field. And I don't like it. I've always played Battlefield, not only because I really enjoy the guns and, a lot of other aspects of the game, but because there's always been some sort of tactical feel to it. There's been some decision making to be made. Whereas in Battlefield 1, I feel like more often than not, the decision is, do we all rush through this field at once, or do we trickle in, which is what usually happens. Because the only way you're going to capture the objective is by having your entire team bum rush it on some of the maps. That is the only actual way to get to the objective, is just to throw bodies at it until the bodies are piled up so high you're pulling a 300 moment where you topple them over onto the enemy. There's just nothing more frustrating, dying, waiting the lengthy timer to respawn, spawning back in, rushing forward again because there's no cover left or right. There's no way to strategically make your way to the objective on several of these maps. You just have to go right in. Gas grenades everywhere, fire grenades everywhere, getting sniped, getting mortared. It's just, there isn't a whole lot to decide on. There isn't a whole lot of strategy at all anymore on several of these maps, and it really annoys me. But I'm the kind of guy that I can look past that right now because, once again, I play this game for a quick thrill. I'm not playing this game like I would play Arma 3, for example. I'm playing this game because I want to get some kills, I want to have a good time, I want to play for like half an hour and then get off. So that doesn't necessarily bother me as much, especially since I don't play a lot of the bigger maps. But the people that do enjoy 64-man Conquest, they might have a rough time. Other than those couple of things, I've been really enjoying this game so far. I've enjoyed the vehicles, I've enjoyed the combat, the melee, the gunplay, the weapons, everything. Everything about the multiplayer, just about, I have very much enjoyed. The only thing that I would have liked is maybe a bigger variety of weapons, because several of the weapons feel nearly the same to me. And I don't know if it's just me, it could be just me, but since several of the weapons look near identical, playing with them doesn't really feel a whole lot different. And it feels like you're just buying another one of the same gun that you've been using, just with slightly different stats. It feels like playing an MMO where your armor turns from blue to green, but you don't notice because you're so ready to get the next one that's purple that you don't really pay much attention to it. It's like how you get the that first piece of armor when you hit level 2 on World of Warcraft, and you're not actually going to notice any significant difference to your defense, and maybe it looks slightly different, but for the most part it's like the same thing, and you just sort of overlook it. That might have been the longest analogy I've ever made, but you get my point. A lot of the guns just feel identical, and I would have liked a bigger variety. Obviously, it's World War One, but they've pretty much we've determined by this point that they're willing to try new things with all of these weird experimental guns. So I would have liked it if maybe they could have strayed off the path just a little more, because at the moment it's not really a World War One game as much because of all the experimental weapons. It doesn't feel extremely World War One-y, but at the same time it doesn't feel new. So you're at this weird medium that some people might be happy with, but generally I would have liked them to either go all out, stick strictly with older guns, because it just I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. Who am I, right? Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If you found this insightful, or if you want to tell me that I'm stupid and gas grenades are the bomb and everyone should have 3 of them when they spawn in, go ahead and tell me in the comments so I could flame you. But otherwise, have a wonderful day.